Well, nothing like morning starting off with Regis's card review. I wonder what the comments are saying about this right now. Oh, looks like all positivity and love from Regis community. We love to see. Oh, wait, what is this? Zeddy's gonna have a field day with that rogue spell? Oh boy, let's take a look. I mean, what rogue spell? What would piss me off? Savory, deviate, delight. Transform a minion into both players' hands into a pirate or stealth minion? I don't see the big deal. Let's get into it.
Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and the core set cards are slowly, very slowly trickling out, despite the fact that the mini set comes out on June 3rd, and that's like a day from now, and we got 3 more cards revealed on the Play Hearthstone Twitter. I'm assuming we're basically going to get all of them later today. I hope. You know, it's kind of weird not to be able to hype up the expansion or a mini set that well, but hopefully we'll get the rest later today and we'll cover it, you know, all of them at once, probably tomorrow's video. But again, maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they'll launch it live without even telling us what the cards will be. That could be interesting. But there was 3 more cards, and there was a lot of people telling me that I was going to be really mad about the rogue card, which we alluded to in the intro, and we'll talk about it at the very end. We'll review it last, but let's go over the other 3 cards, which are pretty significant. 2 of them are Druid cards, and then we have the one rogue card. So we're going to start off with Deviant Dreadfang. This is the 8 mana 4/9 beast for Druid, and after you cast a nature spell, summon a 4/2 Viper with Rush, and you can take a look here at the token. Looks pretty cool, and this is a pretty powerful card. If you remember Mount Seller was pretty meta for a little bit, mainly Druid. It was a neutral card, and you would summon a random 3-cost beast after you cast any spell, not a nature spell, any spell. The main downside with this being it's 1 mana more than a Mount Seller, and you can only get the beast with nature spells. But you have like Innervate, you have Lightning Bloom, you have Iron Bark, which becomes 0 when basically this is playable. Nature Studies being like the standouts, as well as you can, you know, Fungal Fortunes into this. And this might, I don't know, might bring back that token Druid that played a bit more late game style. And you want to compare a random 3-cost beast to a 4/2 rush. Basically, your high roll when you would play a Mount Seller was to get a rush minion to help you fight for board a bit more and then buff it up. You could get like an Apexis Predator, which could give you more late game value, which could be good, but overall, this is just way more consistent. A 4/2 rush for every spell is actually ridiculous. It is super strong. It lets you fight for the board, come back a lot of the time, which Druid struggles with. They don't have good AoEs, they don't have good removal, but if you're getting guaranteed rush minions, that's pretty solid. So I'm curious to see if this will bring back basically that token Druid style thing where you overgrowth, you have your Glowfly Swarm still, you have your Arbor Ups, but you're not reliant on just gibberling. You could play this beast, and I don't know if that'll be strong enough. I don't know if it's too slow because you're overgrowthing. You still can't play it till turn 8 unless you innervate it out, but then you're using a nature spell. But very potentially powerful. I see it in a token Druid type of deck. I don't know if it makes the cut, but I would not be surprised to see this being a decent little card. It's just a really good card. It's very strong. I think it's better than Mount Seller. The only downside, literally the only downside, besides the fact you have to use nature spells, is its cost. So for standard, I will give this a 3. I don't think this is a meta-defining card. I don't think it's a meta-warping card, but I think it could slip in to that token Druid thing. But again, there's a very good chance it's too slow. So I'll give it a 3 for standard. I don't think you're doing like anything with like Celestial Alignment. I don't think you're going Celestial Alignment and Lady Anaconda with this. Like that whole Celestial Alignment thing, when you alignment, you need to win the game with absurd stuff, and a card like this doesn't really fit into that. And there is a card that could cheat this out. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, still, even with that, I still think it's a bit too slow, but I do think it might see a bit of play in standard, and in wild, well, this is just way too slow. Even like token Druid, where you have like Whispering Woods, you have Savage Roar still in standard, you have all these powerful cards. Token Druid there is like a tier 3 at best tier 2 style deck, and you don't want to be playing 8 drops. You don't want to be playing ramp. You gotta in Wild have kind of come to the conclusion, if your deck cannot really realistically win the game by the time you have 5 mana crystals, which is when like Dark Lair typically wins, it's when like a combo APM mage will go off, Secret Mage starts burning you out, all these aggro decks start winning, Leroy comes down, Lothip comes down, everything is kind of around 5 mana, and I don't think you want to be ramping in a token Druid. It's too slow for a Wild strategy. I'll give it a 2. It's a cool card. I actually think this is a really sweet card, but in Wild, I don't see it making the cut. However, the accompanying card that might make it a little bit more playable is, at least for standards purposes, is Fangbind Druid. It's a 3 mana 4/3 taunt. So not the best. You'd rather see a 3/4, usually more protective stats are better at a top minion. But as Death Rattle, reduce the cost of a beast in your hand. Note, your hand and not the next beast you play. Has to be in your hand by 2, and it's also random. If you're running multiple beasts, it could hit whatever. So I guess the idea is you're holding Deviate Dreadfang, it's in your hand, it gets hit by this, and then all of a sudden it's 6 mana, and you could pop off on turn 6 and get some good stuff. I don't think this is consistent enough at all. Fangbind Druid, like, I feel like the only good card draw that you have to really utilize this type of card is like a Fungal Fortunes, and it's not going to work in that type of deck. However, there is a deck that it could work in that I think is not actually based around that, is Guardian Animals Druid. Because Guardian Animals Druid, you typically run, 2 Twilight Runners, Teacher's Pets. You have like Thresher and sometimes like a Moonfang, and a lot of the times you have 1 or 2 of those stuck in your hand. And while Fangbound Druid can maybe help you get to your Overgrowth turn and also, cheat out one of these beasts that are stuck in your hand, maybe it serves that purpose because of that issue. But if you're just playing like 2 of these 8 drops, like it's just never gonna reliably be in your hand and consistent enough for it to be really worth it. You need to hit a specific beast, and the only beast that, again, I could really consider that are the Guardian Animals beasts that, yeah, they get stuck in your hand at 5 mana. They can be pretty frustrating, but if they're 3, well, that's pretty good. You could couple it with a broom and do something pretty good. That might be okay. Is it worth the spot in those decks? They're probably not. It is defensive, so it might help keep you alive a little bit better. So for that reason, it could see a tiny bit of play, but overall, I can't see it. To me, this is like an arena card that might hit like a Fleethoof Pearl Tusk, which is pretty good in arena, which would corrupt it a lot easier and have synergies like that, or just cheat out some 3-drop beast at the same time or something like that, But for me, it's more of an arena card. I don't think it fits into either Guardian Animals Druid or this new Token Druid lineup with that 8-drop. So I'm going to give it a 2. It's not a horrendous card. It's basically premium stats, taunt, upside. I just don't see the synergies really making the cut, and definitely not in Wild. It'll get a flat out 1 there, although there is synergies, of course, with Hadronox, as maybe it's your only beast and you're playing this and you can resummon it and get your Hadronox out a little bit earlier. Yeah, it's probably not going to work either, so I'll give it a 1 in Wild. I could see it even less there, where you want to run cards like Oaken Summons and cheat out stuff, not cheat out a Fangbound Druid. So overall, kind of a filler. Don't see it making a bit of an impact, but let's get into the Rogue card that everyone's like, Zeddy's gonna lose his mind on. I mean, I saw my name in Regis's comments. That was pretty cool to see. And that's Savory Deviate Delight. It's a 1-mana rogue spell, and it transforms a minion in both players' hands into a pirate or a stealth minion. And Ben Hearthstone tweeted out these images of pirates and stealth minions, and it's a pretty small pool, pretty consistent. But is a rogue gonna want to run this card? I don't think so. I mean, like, this is kind of a weird disruption tool. Like, I mean, it's similar to Demonic Project that saw very fringe play back in the day in Warlock, which would transform a minion in both players' hand into a random demon. And even back then, when combo decks were a lot more prevalent, was not a very good option to negate that. And Warlock is much more control-y, would probably want to disrupt things like that. But if you look at Rogue right now, why does Rogue care about disrupting a combo piece? Like, this is going to hurt them on average more than it's going to hurt their opponent. You have to run this card. It has to serve a purpose. I see this as more of a card that's created by, whether it be from like a Venomous Scorpid, a Wand Maker, or maybe a very niche like tech option, but I don't have a problem with this kind of disruption. I know we've talked a lot about disruption, whether it be a Ticketus or Nalucia. I find those to be unfun, unhealthy disruptions where they just nuke a bunch of cards that your opponent can't really play around, whereas this Savory Deviate Delight is similar to like a Dirty Rat, to a Demonic Project where you can hold minions and try to play around it. If you're worried about this card, you can hold on to some other valuable minions. Even if you're like an OTK Demon Hunter, hold on to a Moarg, hold on to your one of your spell damage guys, and hope that it doesn't get hit. And I think this type of disruption is healthy for the game. It's weird that it's going to Rogue. I don't think it'll really see any play in Standard at all. I just cannot see it. But even if it does, I don't see a problem with that. This is the type of disruption I think is relatively healthy. I think it's funny that it's cheaper than a Demonic Project, and arguably better, because I think the average pirate and stealth minion, especially in Rogue, is better. But at the same time, Rogue has such great strategies, whether it's Weapon Rogue, whether it's Miracle Rogue, or any of those type of decks. Like, they're not going to waste their time on this card. It's more of a meme. It's more of a weird tech option. It's more of a created by card. So I'm going to give it a 2 in standard. I cannot see it seeing play, and I'm not upset about it. I'm not angry about it. I'm not complaining about this card. I have no problem with these type of cards existing when it's something you can play around and it's something that's kind of flavorful and interesting. And as for Wild, maybe Odd Rogue runs this. Maybe. I don't know. Odd Rogue runs it as a one-of. They like to run like Beneath the Grounds and Albatross. Maybe you want to throw this in to screw with the Raza Priest, hit their Raza, hit their Kazakis, hit their, I don't know, Spawn of Shadows, something. Maybe, but even there, probably not. I think I'd rather run something more tempo-based, like an Albatross, like a Beneath the Grounds, which could get me a 4/4. Probably not there, but I think it actually has more chance in Wild, believe it or not, because Disruption is a lot more valuable in that format with so many different combo and like big minion style decks going on there. So I'll give it a 2 in Wild. Don't see it seeing much play, but there you go. I'm not pissed off. How about that? Zeddy's been complaining a lot, and I admit it's been a bit much, and I'm trying to tone it down a little bit. But overall, these cards are pretty cool. Got no issues with it. They might see a little bit of play, might allow for some cool deck building, but nothing that's grinding my gears and get me upset. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and hopefully we get some new cards soon. Like, what is the hold of this? Has been really weird. Have a good day and stay salty, my friends.